Hi everyone, welcome to Mr. Otter Studio. Today we are going to learn one method of adding shadow and dimension to your textured artwork pieces using oil pastels. I'm referring specifically to any texture that is raised off of the surface of your artwork. So you see here I've got just a normal canvas and I spread joint compound all over it like you would frosting on a cake. And then I carved wavy lines with my palette knife through it. That's what gave me the raised texture you see there. Then I painted blue and silver over it. See that? This is what it ends up looking like. Anyway, you look at this and it's cool, but it's a little bit boring. So I'm going to use the oil pastels to jazz it up like this. I am going to be using my Cray-Pas Expressionist oil pastels. I've got my 3D textured artwork that I've done with joint compound, but really it could work on a variety of different 3D textures. I've got a paper towel, you could use a cloth too, and I've got my blending stick, which is optional. Grab your oil pastels. You can see mine are very well loved. And what you're going to do is decide what color you want to start with. I'm going to start with a dark blue. I've chosen a darker color because it's a nice contrast against the light background. You're going to need to use the side of the oil pastel, so go ahead and peel off the paper. Turning my oil pastel sideways, I'm going to add my first layer of color by gently rubbing it across the texture. I'm not applying very much pressure at all. This will just add a little bit of color to the most protruding parts of my painting here. And again, you can do this on all sorts of different textured artwork. Now I'm grabbing a paper towel. You could do this with a cloth also. And I've wrapped it around my finger, and I am just going to smudge across all of the color that I just laid down. And this will just help smooth that color right into the texture. Now you'll see, for me this is a lot about layering and adding different colors and blending different colors, and a lot of it is about experimenting. So you should take the same liberties. This is my suggestion. Take the same liberties in your artwork to discover what works for you. Now I'm going to grab some yellow and I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with the blue. I'm just going to rub it across all the texture that I've laid down. Now I am completely aware that the yellow, when mixed with the blue that I already laid down, is going to give it a green hue. So as you're choosing your colors, be mindful and aware of how those colors will react and blend with each other. Now the reason that I didn't just add green to begin with is because I want some of that blue to still be defined a little bit, as well as some of the yellow. And I'm going to do that by not completely mixing them together. Now I am going to grab some white and I am going to lay down a little color in between my most protruding parts of the texture. I've got some flatter areas in my texture, and that's where I'm going to put the white. And then I'm going to rub it a little bit with that paper towel, but not too much because I still want it to be a little rough looking, but I'm going to rub it and just blend it a little bit. Now I am taking the same dark blue and I am going to rub them over the ridges of texture again. Now, this may seem really tedious, but every single layer and every single different color will help me emphasize the texture. Now I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to rub along the ridges. This time, though, I am going to use my finger to pull the color underneath each ridge and blend it into the color below. This will help add depth to my texture. Now, I'm going to utilize the oil pastel that's on my finger from all the rubbing that I've just done, and I'm going to create a vignette in my painting. And I'm going to do this by just rubbing along the edges of the entire painting. And I'm going to be a little bit more liberal with my colors in the corners and bring them up a little bit higher than the edges. This will help give it more of a circular vignette. Now, the way that I did this painting, I basically left a border around the edge of my textured part of the painting. So to emphasize that, I am going to rub in a blue border where that painted frame meets the texture. So all I'm doing is I'm taking my dark blue, same one I was using before, and I'm just laying down a thick line along that border and just rubbing it right into both the textured part of the painting and the silver painted frame that's right on my canvas. Alright guys, that about wraps it up for me. Thank you so much for joining Mr. Otter's studio for this lesson of how to use Sakura's Expressionist Cray-Pas oil pastels to emphasize texture on your artwork. Have a nice day!